So my good friend Jason um, came by to visit yesterday, and he brought me a bike to work on. He brought me a yellow Cannondale that he picked up on Marketplace, and he also said I should make more videos on my channel, which he's definitely the only person advising me of that. But so yeah, I thought I'd try and knock one out real quick. So here's the bike. It's an old Cannondale F500 CAD 2 aluminum frame, and it probably dates back to around 1997, thereabouts. I'm not sure if this RockShox Indy C came with it or if somebody substituted that in later. But the bike came to me with some Diacomp center pull cantilever brakes and brake levers, and this very shabby SRAM 400 twist shifter. Somebody had adapted it to be a double up front instead of a triple, so it's missing a chain ring there, and STX rear derailleur. This might be older. This might be more like a 1994 or 1995. As you can see, I have gotten started bolting some parts on there real quick. We picked out some Avid brakes and levers and some Shimano trigger shifter pods. At some point, this rear wheel was an 8-speed rear wheel, and somebody put a adapter ring on the back there, a little shim, to be able to use a 7-speed cassette on it. So I'm probably gonna swap in an 8-speed cassette and do something about that missing chain ring. And it probably should have a new chain. So pretty much all new stuff. I tried removing the stem, and the stem did not want to let go. It seems to have corroded onto the steer tube there. So I shot a little bit of penetrating oil into the gap there to see if I could get it to loosen up between the stem and the steer tube. And I don't know, we'll see. Maybe this is the stem it's gonna have. So it turns out that the penetrating oil did its thing overnight, and I was able to get that old Coda stem off of there and attach a shorter stem and a nice wide handlebar with a little bit of rise like the kids are into. So I was going to use this basic Shimano crankset to replace that one on the Cannondale that just has 2 chain rings, rather than trying to find a 5-bolt chain ring in my parts. But I picked out this kind of basic crankset, and it appears that the spider itself has a little bit of play in it. I don't know if you can see the spider wiggling back and forth. I can definitely feel it. It just wiggles just a little bit back and forth, independent of the crank arm. So I went ahead and installed these Shimano DOR LX cranks, and it turns out that the big ring was a little bit warped or bent, so then I had to pick a different set of cranks. Alright, so I finished up the bike and I didn't really film the work. I just went ahead and shot a little bit of footage after. Whoa! We're putting fresh wood chips down today. Alright. Come on, man. Wow. This was not like this 2 days ago. So I guess they're working on this little pathway where I like to hang out. So I'll go hang out in one of the gazebos instead. So this is a Cannondale F500. It's got a few weird choices going on. F500s typically come equipped with Cannondale's proprietary head shock fork. And this frame certainly has the head tube for it, but it looks like someone installed an adapter kit and dropped in a RockShox Indy fork. So we've got a RockShox Indy C. So it's coil and elastomer. And oddly, this one has a cantilever brake cable hanger. It's such a pain to get these rubber boots to go back all the way down into place. Especially because I've got like a little weird paper cut on my thumb. And I say that that's odd because by the time the RockShox Indy C came out, linear pull brakes were pretty well established, but presumably whoever had this bike with the Diacomp center pull cantilever brakes on it didn't want to also change out the brakes and the brake levers, so they went ahead and picked up a fork with a cantilever brake cable hanger on it in order to do kind of a simple conversion. And I'd have to just be speculating as far as why they decided to change out the head shock, but the head shock's sort of a clever design that, you know, when they go wrong, there's not a ton of people that are ready to take them apart and service them. And so maybe that's why they decided to install an Indy C. This frame features their wishbone stay and does still have a cantilever brake cable hanger, which is kind of cool. Frame appears to be free of any dents, although it's got a few scratches to the paint. Maybe Jason will touch this up. I have a sneaking suspicion that Jason picked this up because he's been riding a bright yellow CAD 3 Cannondale road bike for a really long time, which is an awesome road bike, like super cool, and who doesn't love that bright yellow, right? So I think when he saw this mountain bike, he felt a little nostalgic about bright yellow Cannondales and nabbed it for like $100. And I didn't go crazy with the cost of the parts on this thing. I mean, the grips are inexpensive ones from AliExpress, but you know, they have a clamping ring on there to keep them from slipping around. The brake levers are Avid linear pull brake levers, Shimano. We swapped out that right hand shifter pod for an 8-speed pod instead of a 7-speed. And then we added a shifter on the left hand to go with having an actual front derailleur on there. But yeah, this thing's actually in really cool shape and should be a fun bike. And I had a blast working on it. I worked at a Cannondale shop, my first bike shop job at Sun and Ski Sports Expo in Houston, Texas, and we sold Cannondales. This thing still has the IRC Mythos XC tires, which honestly might actually be the tires that it came with. And while they are a little bit weather checked, I think he can still get some life out of them. Yeah, we carried Cannondales at Sun and Ski Sports Expo, and I can still remember the clinic, which I'm sure I went through the class more than once when the Cannondale rep showed up, and they would explain to us how the frames were 6000 series aluminum. They drastically manipulated the thickness of the tube wall, where it's quite a bit thicker walled tubing up at the head tube, down tube junction where you need more strength. And the tubing is drawn thinner wall down towards the bottom bracket so they can save a little bit of weight, and they rely on having that big diameter. And they like to talk about how they handmade them in Bedford, Pennsylvania back then, but also how they hand sanded the welds and then heat treated them to T6 tensile strength. So they said the welds are stronger than the rest of the frame. We actually used to have a cutaway frame in the shop hanging up on the wall, and it was just literally split down the middle so you could see how the thickness of the wall tubing was kind of thicker up here and got, you know, almost beer can thin down towards the bottom bracket. So that was pretty neat to see. So I don't exactly know what kind of plans Jason has for this bike. He was thinking about using it for a run around town bike and stuff like that. I mean, honestly, I would feel perfectly ready to go romp this on some single trap somewhere. But yeah, I don't know. It's up to him. And I don't think he wanted clipless pedals on this, so although I do have some old Cannondale Coda clipless pedals at home, but I think he just wants flat pedals, so I'll have to swap those out. What I should do is find something super cool to decorate this unused cantilever brake cable hanger with, you know, like a rubber duck or something. We'll see. So that's how the bike turned out, and if nobody else watches this, at least I know that Jason will. And I had a blast working on it, and thanks for watching. I mean, honestly, it looks pretty sweet. Hey, if you're going to be riding ragbrai, come and find me and buy a spoke bracelet.